So how are you doing? The bottom line is that if you're going back and picking at something, you have to meal plan. If you're doing that, you have to pack your lunch, and this is what you get. End of story. That's it. It's done. Okay? I mean, let me tell you, there are some days, you know, I pack my breakfast, I pack my lunch, I pack my snacks, and there are some days I'm thinking, oh gosh, I wonder if they have any junk or something out in the nurse's station. Because there's a room, guys. There's a room over there on that nurse's station. That's where their junk is. They call it the file room. It's got junk.
Wow.
And sometimes, guess what they have?
Oh, you're
potato
really?
chips. Yes, and I go in. I walk in there, and sometimes I just want to go look. Sometimes I just want to go look. You know, it's like. But those are pure evilness for me, guys, and so they should be for you too. Those crunchy evil Cheetos. I have discovered a new that I can actually have with my lunch, as opposed to, you know, I normally have I'll have my protein, and then for my carb at lunch, I can have like some brown rice. I can have some sweet potato, a third of a sweet potato. I can have some little stuff like that. Well, I've been just kind of getting bored just eating sweet potatoes. So what I did is I was at Trader Joe's, and it's called sweet potato ribbons. And so what I do is I drizzle a little bit of garlic flavored olive oil, and I mix it all up. And then they have a seasoning called 21 Gun Salute seasoning. And I put that on there, and I mix it all up, and I put it in the oven, and I bake it. It's sweet potato shreds. And then I portion them up into little baggies, and then I have those with my lunch.
Okay.
So it's something crunchy. Those vegetable chips are not that good for you. I remember when I was teaching the options class here in Palmdale, and those of you that went through class, has anybody been through class with Liz Bowman?
Yes.
Okay, do you remember when she would do the label reading class?
Yes.
Sun chips. Sun chips are good, right?
Yeah.
Not quite that good for you though.
No.
Not as good as the front of the bag says. You know, truly. And she actually did the comparison. She said, you're better off eating a baked potato chip versus the healthier sun chip.
Mm-hmm.
Sun chips.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's very, very interesting to, I guess it boils down to marketing. So the point being that you really need to pack your lunch. Yeah. And that's the thing, you have to be creative with what you're doing. You get a smaller plate, you're not measuring out your portions.
No.
Because if you were measuring your portions, you could eat everything on your plate.
Yeah.
You could. And one of the keys something I learned a long time ago, I don't know if anybody else did, don't put your serving platters on your table.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Serve it from the kitchen, because it takes more effort to get up to walk in there to reserve yourself as opposed to reaching across the table and serving yourself. I didn't cook twice. Never cooked twice. I was able to eat, I don't know about you, but I would cook, and I was pretty much able to eat everything my family ate. Like, they like macaroni and cheese. I just didn't eat the macaroni and cheese. I would have vegetables with it. You know, I didn't,
You substitute.
you substitute, but
Yeah.
you don't have to cook. You don't have to cook like two families. You're pretty much nail on the head there, but there was a time that I got a little out of control. Okay, just recently I was a little out of control. I went up to 201 pounds,
Yeah.
and I've lost in 12
willpower.
weeks 26 pounds.
Wow.
But the bottom line is that I still meal plan. If you open up my refrigerator, there's her shelf and his shelf. Her shelf has salmon for every meal, because that's what I'm craving right now. And his shelf has a variety of everything. No, and
You
no.
feel so hungry.
Like
No.
just to control
No.
those portions.
Because you're going to find yourself at the exact same spot.
I believe you just said it. you took a check of your inventory. How many people do that when you've faltered? Has anybody faltered? Has anybody thought they've fallen off the cart? And you know what? And it's when you fall off the wagon, sometimes it's hard to get back on.
Yeah.
You raised your hand saying you're faltering. That's great. That's great. Anyone else? Anybody else have that falter, or what has been if you did, what has gotten you back? Do you journal your food? You will start to tomorrow, right? And I'm not talking, oh yeah, I did it on my little device. I'm talking, and people will disagree with me. I'm talking, I ate 1 egg, 2 whites, spinach, peppers, and onions. And I have a composition book, and I put all of that in there. Everything I eat goes into my composition book. My other motivating factor for me is I have a trainer, and if I don't do it, boy, she's going to kick my butt. And sometimes that's what you need is you need to find an accountability buddy. Sometimes it's something like that. It's coming to this. For me, I find I have to have that accountability, and by me going to my trainers, I do a boot camp, and going in on Saturday morning, and it's weigh-in, and it's body fat, and it's total fat mass, and all that stuff. Oh, believe me, that's my motivation. And I've started my boot camp, and I've done well with my boot camp. So you've got to find something that is that motivator for you. When the boot camp was over, because it was an academy, and when it was over, I actually felt lost. I felt like, oh, and I didn't even know it was a competition. She goes, oh, 3 people are at the top contenders of the competition, and blah, 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 blah. I apparently was one of them. I just thought I was going there and just doing, like dying like everybody else was dying at this thing. But the bottom line is what I found for myself was that I need that accountability. Not only am I accountable to you guys, but I needed someone to force me to have that accountability for me, And so that's what I did. And boot camp's over. I won the competition. But I'm still going 3 times a week and doing my gym in between. And I have to journal my food. And that may be what you need to start doing. Have you incorporated exercise into much exercise? Let me tell you about that. No one cares. You know what? No one cares. I go to the gym at sometimes 3:30 in the morning. And let me tell you, the people that are there working out, no one cares. No one's there looking at you. They are there to do the same thing that you're doing. The people at the gym in the morning, when I go, they're there. Those are people that are going to work that probably are not going to get off work at a decent hour, so they're going to go in the morning, or maybe they just want to go home after work and not have to go work out. You know what I'm saying? So I can honestly tell you, I talk to a lot of people at the gym. They don't care. They don't care what you're wearing. I mean, I think you look amazing. I think you look amazing. And they don't care. They're there for the same reason that you are. Everybody's there to work their program.
She just hit the key right there. It's for the same reason. My son works at 24-Hour Fitness, and he wanted me to go. So I've been going this week. I'm usually working out at home, but I've been at 24-Hour Fitness this week, and not until 10 he gets off work. And so I'm there with all the people who could be my kids.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, and I think before, if I wouldn't be the age I am now, and the person I am now, and how comfortable I am in my own skin and my own head now, that would have made me uncomfortable, because it's all these like good-looking, like under 30-year-old guys, and they're all working. But the thing is, their goals, my goal, I get on the treadmill, I get on the step, or I'm doing something. My goal is to just sort of stay where I am and just like get in my fitness for the day. Their goals, they look like they've got some different goals. I mean, they're over there just like, they're really doing something. My son's goals are very different. And I sort of look at them and view them like, you know, good for you guys. You guys are doing your thing, I'm doing my thing.
Yep.
Right.
Like, you guys are here
Exactly.
for whatever your goal is.
What-
And I don't, and no, my goal is this, and we don't need to know, but I sort of walk by and I have this feeling like, right on, like, do your thing, I'm doing my thing.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. And at first I'm like, which I don't work out with people. What should I be wearing? I'm like, and you're right. I walked in there and after I'm like, nobody's looking at my arms.
No one
They're
cares.
all doing their own
Same
thing.
thing.
Nobody
Exactly.
cares.
They're busy,
Exactly.
What my butt
they're
looks
busy
like in
doing
my
this.
pants.
Yeah.
They're
That's
busy
right.
looking at their chest and their
That's right.
arms and at themselves.
Yeah.
And you know, the bottom line, where did you go? Right, so you're gonna find what's for you.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Yep.
If you went to the gym wearing that, you would be fine.
Mhm.
You would. You'd be
okay.
fine.
It's all right.
It's okay. Where I also go, I do 2 gyms, and I go to my boot camp, and I'm the oldest person there, you know? And they're these young little girls, and they've got tight arms, and tight butts, and thick boobs, and
Yeah.
let me tell you, and you know what they said to me? And I was really, the first time I went to this whole boot camp, and I was absolutely petrified going to this boot camp, and I was like, oh my God. And I'm like, I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was just stressed about the whole thing, and I was the oldest person there, okay? And they're young, some of them are younger than my kids, some of them are my kids' age, and I was just like, okay. And you know, they said to me, great job.
You inspired them.
Great
Yes.
job.
Yeah.
And that's what they
Yeah.
told me.
Absolutely.
You know, I wish my mother would get up and do something. You know, I mean, and they were serious.
Yeah.
They said, you know, you're so good, but just by going, you may be someone who will see you and go, I want to be like her.
Yeah.
I want to be like her.
Yeah, you
It's
do.
just like when I went to, when I started this boot camp, I was so nervous, and those little girls, they were so welcoming to me, you know, and, you know, I mean, gosh, and I mentioned one time to one of the girls, the trainer wasn't there, but we all got together to work out anyway, and I said, you know, I think I'm just a little too old for this. I'm like limping away, you know, kind of that whole thing, and the one little girl turned on me, I mean, literally, she goes, she actually cussed at me, and she said, don't you ever say that, never ever say that. She goes, you're never too old. So, you know, and maybe something else would be a motivator for you, something like a Fitbit or something like that, because what you can do is like with mine, like I haven't had a chance to get to exercise yet today, but with mine, I can actually see how many calories I burned during my workout. And to me, that is a motivator too. Because like the other day, I was thinking, gosh, I just haven't been really, you know, blasting any calories lately at the gym. And we had this one yesterday that I burned 629 calories before I had gotten to work, you know. So it's a motivator for me, and it's like, okay, I've done that, okay? I don't want to eat bad because I don't want to undo what I've done. So there's just different things that you can use as a motivator, you know, but don't give up on yourself. Come to us. And, you know, and don't be a slave to the scale.
Yeah, definitely.
Weigh yourself
That's
once
the
a
key.
week. Once a week is all you should allow yourself. Does that help? I think the other issue is obese people, we've always been the ridicule of people being obese. We were always that one that they, look at that one, look at her, she's awful big, you know? And I think, is it fatism or something like that, and it exists, and people are very, just as much as they're, what's the word I'm looking, I don't even know the word I'm looking for, but pretty much they're just gonna, you know, pretty much just berate you for who you are. And your feeling going into the gym is that same feeling. You're welcome. We've all struggled at some point in time. You know, we've all struggled. Every single one of us. Always, I had a conversation with someone about that. I can't remember who it was. And she said, and I saw her today here at work, she looked amazing. And she said to me, I still look in the mirror and I see the other person. I see the other person.
Even if other people are complimenting you.
And there's actually, and part of this thing right here, is people stop raving about how you look. But there is actually something that really exists, and it's called body dysmorphic disorder. And you don't see yourself as you really are.
Yeah.
And one of the big things with that is, in things that I've learned, is that you have to keep something. As from when you were bigger, and as you start losing weight. There was a guy that actually used to I used to run the community support group several years ago, and there was a gentleman who always came, and he still wore his belt from when he was over 400 pounds. And he just kept putting holes in it.
Yeah.
And I finally told him, I said, you know, that belt is just gonna fall apart. He goes, I'm just gonna keep on putting holes till I can't put a hole. And he could take that belt, and this was that, sometimes you have to have something that's that reminder.
Yeah.
He could hold that belt out and drape it over his arm. You know, my husband, one of those things that he kept, and I kept telling him, Charles, just get rid of it. It's just gonna hang in the closet. He has his pea coat from when he was in the Navy, and it's big on him now. But, I mean, it's keeping those things. It's one thing, you don't have to keep a lot, but one thing that will make you realize that, yeah, okay, yeah, I have changed when you can't see it. We've all seen those pictures. My sister-in-law got married, and I was like, why did you not, how could you let me go out in that outfit? You know, I was big. And so I had a black skirt. Oh Lord, it was so uncomfortable. And I just thought I looked cute. And it was like a little shell, and then it had this jacket with big flowers on it, big flowers. And I said, what were you thinking letting me out of the house in that outfit? He goes, well, I thought you looked kind of good. Like, wow, and I was, 300 and something pounds. It's like, how could you think I looked good? He goes, you looked great to me. Yeah. But pictures too. As you start getting back on track, you guys, pictures. I just lost a little bit of weight recently, and I'm like, wow. Looking at my closet going, well, there goes all the winter clothes.
That's right.
I went from like an extra large to a medium.
Do you remember the one we did on emotional eating? And we actually had people sit in groups.
Yes.
And this is what they did. When we talked about Susie ate the whole pint of ice cream. And we backed it up to, what was Susie thinking as she headed for the ice cream? What had happened earlier? And we backed it all the way up to what happened to Susie at work. She's driving home from work. She found out about this. She found out about this. She thought she called somebody else and talked about something else. Thought she put it out of her mind. Didn't even realize that she's walking to the freezer. And so what happened? What were those thoughts that carried over to the why am I eating the ice cream? It is. I've been in this field 15 years. And I've been to the psych conferences, and it is. There's something else there. It's not just like, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
We could say, are you thirsty? Were you dehydrated? Maybe you went for something in the middle of the night. But it's like, what was the last thing you were thinking before you went to sleep? What made you, when you got up to use the bathroom, whatever you did, what's that thought that happened right before, that happened earlier, that makes you go, I want to calm myself or distract or numb myself from what I'm thinking, I'm going to go for the refrigerator. There's usually something else.
And sometimes journaling, just getting just a nice blank journal that you can just start writing things that are coming into your head and stuff like that, you know, and that might make you see.
If you can't journal, mine is the voice recorder memo on my phone. I'm feeling something, thinking something, you know, you don't want to, you know, that takes maybe, I'll start talking, I'm thinking this is going on. Oh, and as I'm talking out loud, whatever was bothering, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's it. And and I'll listen back sometimes and I'll go, oh my gosh, that was that.
It could be you had a bad day at work, the kids have frustrated you, your spouse has frustrated you, your partner, whomever it is, you know, something like that. Sometimes we just put stuff way down there.
And we don't even realize that's why we're going to the fridge. We're like, but nothing happened, I feel fine. Had a nice evening with the family. Oh wait, that thing that happened at 9 o'clock this morning at work.
Has been eating at me
has
all
been
day
eating at me
long.
all day long.
And you're right. The difference between the drinking and the food is that you have to have food to survive. And a friend and I had that conversation. He goes, I don't know how you do it. He says, I was an alcoholic for so many years. He goes, but you have to have food. There is a term for that. It's called addiction transference. There's another vice that you're going to find. You know,
Yeah.
some find healthier devices. Some people find unhealthy devices. If you have that thought, that's when you have to stop. It's gaining some self-control, right? But you've got to, when you think, and I talk about this. If you think you're full, or if you think you've had enough, you're what? You're done. Push it away.
You know, to get started with that, if you're having a hard time knowing when you're satiated, is that, you know, like, and you probably went over in pre-op class today, you know, it says if you're so far out and you had a sleeve or gastric bypass, you can eat about this much food.
Yes.
This is what the average person at this far out can eat. If you were to measure out that food, and say for a few days you did that, and you start paying attention to your body's signal, noticing, okay, I've had the, 1.5 cups, or whatever it is of food, and like, okay, I've sat with it, you've eaten just what's measured, and you're doing it almost as an experiment to sort of feel it and go, okay, so if they're saying this should fill up did you have the sleeve or the bypass?
The sleeve.
So if they're saying, if this much food, I don't know, an ounce, or a cup and a half or something.
Oh gosh darn.
But you know what I'm
1
going with
1/4
it.
cups
So-
at like a year and a half, something like that. 1 1/4 cups of food.
So if you measure that out and you're eating that and you've had, say, you're at 2/3 of a cup of something, you're like, I should start feeling something. Maybe if you took some time and said, what am I noticing? Am I feeling something okay? Let me have that next third of a cup. Let me have that next third, because that third is supposed to be all that my little pouchy stomach can take in, and then sort of go, how does this feel? If they're saying scientifically, this is all I can fit in, how does that feel with that? Okay, this is what my full feels like. Maybe you just almost did it as an experiment, you know? Not even talking meal prep, just to notice
Go back
what
to your
does
book,
that
remember class?
ounce feel
Yes.
like.
Go back, I'm trying to remember where it is. It's more towards the end of the packet that you got. More towards the end of there that says at this period, there's like 3 or 4 across the top. At this point, your pouch or sleeve can hold this much, and then this much, and then there's one right here that says it's like 1 1/4 or to 1 1/2 cups or something like that. So, you know, get your food. Like, say maybe you're having some chicken, cut it up, put it in a, put it in a measuring cup. Dump that out as a portion of your chicken. Then maybe get your healthy carb, okay? Measure it up, put it out. Your vegetables, measure it up, put it out. You've got that all filled up on your little plate with your little fork, okay? And eat your protein first.
And do it without
Well-
your family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is called non-distract, do not be distracted. You know, this
Right.
is you alone time.
Yeah.
This is because you're just really trying to pay attention to your body's physical sensations of, here's how it feels when I've almost taken it in. And just don't let anybody just, you know, just buy yourself time. It's quiet, not watching anything, you're just sitting with yourself. What does it feel like as my body starts to get full?
When I pack up my lunch or my husband's lunch, I put it on the scale.
Uh-huh.
And so like I had salmon again today. So I put my on the scale and I put how many ounces I was supposed to have. Oh, it went over. And so I pull it off until I have exactly 3.5 ounces or 4 ounces, whatever I'm supposed to have. My husband, he saw me do it, he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm giving the right amount of ounces. Just, there's no more, no less." And I will peel, if it's chicken, I will peel a piece of that chicken off, just because. I have to make sure that I weigh everything. Once you start eyeballing something, the palm of your hand, and you cut off your fingers and your thumb and you look at the palm of your hand like the thickness of a deck of cards, but pretty soon that thickness of a deck of cards becomes 2 decks of cards, and it becomes someone else's palm of their hand, like maybe, you know, I don't know, the Jolly Green Giant's hand, you know? And so it's a bigger hand, and pretty soon you lose track, and it happens to everybody, and that's how people get out of control, is that they're not aware of their portion sizes, okay? You're just off balance, and you need to start before you decide that there's a real problem or anything. You definitely need to start portion control. Portion control. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Do you still get protein drinks in? But you should. You should maybe put your protein drinks as a snack or something. Maybe you have a protein drink in the evening shortly before you go to bed, and that might stop some of that nighttime searching.
That's
And I
okay.
agree, because like yesterday I had my butt kicked. I had to call her and say, oh my gosh, I'm like ravenous. I've had my breakfast, I've had a protein drink. I am like, I'm going to chew the next person's arm off who walks by. And she goes, "Do you have a package of tuna fish in the foil package that's low sodium?" Yeah. She goes, "Go eat it." I had burned
Your body needed it.
I had burned so hot that I needed it. But I agree for you, both of you, like Mary said, when you're not like got kids around and stuff, do that test to see that you can see where your fullness comes in.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, like Mary said, I think you're going to feel it. But
And
you
then
have
be
to.
flexible with yourself and kind to yourself, and you acknowledge, I took my kids to the park and we were running around and I'm hungrier than usual. So, you know, that's okay.
Because you've
If
depleted
you're having
something.
a little more, you're having a little more because you put more energy out. That's okay.
But you just don't make it an everyday
Yeah,
thing.
that's okay.
And you know, and are you getting enough calories? Are you getting enough calories? You know, are you getting enough calories? You think so, but you don't know. You're not writing it down. You're not keeping track of how your calories, your protein.
Right.
Are you getting enough liquid?
Yeah.
How many bottles of that water do you drink a day? Remember, it's hot now.
Yeah.
I mean, the things that are common, nutrition, fluids, you want to make sure you're not anemic, and to have your iron checked, make sure your thyroid is normal. You know, so as long as all of those parameters, the important things, are marked off your list, then the big things are not
Behavioral.
basically concerning. So then we won't have to be so anxious about it. But the other thing is that sometimes patients do so much more than they have done before. They get to the end of the day and they're exhausted, and there's not so much left to do because they just don't have the juice. It's because they've done a lot more. So, and I don't know if that's something that is an experience you've had, but bear that in mind. You may be doing a lot more, but make sure that all the other organic aspects, like your blood count and your blood level and your iron levels, your thyroid and everything else is good, and that you're nutritionally getting adequate nutrition and hydrating well. So you got to go down the checklist there.
Okay.
And then if you've been started on some meds, certain meds also can cause lethargy. So if there's a new medication that you've been put on,
Mhm.
So make sure that you look at that too.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.